There is a quiet but aggressive condition destroying human strength across the world. And most people don't even realize it's happening until it's too late. It's called sarcopenia, and it's the scientific term for muscle wasting. But it's more than just muscle loss. It's a neuromuscular shutdown. After the age of 30, your muscle mass begins to decline, slowly at first, then more rapidly with each passing decade. But here's the powerful truth. You don't have to accept it. You can fight it. And not just with exercise. There is one specific food that can stop this decay in its tracks and rebuild your strength at the cellular level. We're not talking about protein powder or supplements. We're talking about a natural, bioactive food that triggers pathways in your brain and muscles to restart growth. That's not hype. It's neuroscience and cellular biology. And you need to hear this because sarcopenia doesn't just make you weaker. It makes you vulnerable. It lowers your metabolism, decreases insulin sensitivity, increases your risk of falls, fractures, and even dementia. Muscle is not just for movement. It's your body's metabolic engine, your glucose sink, your hormonal stabilizer. When you lose it, everything else begins to spiral down. The first thing to understand is that muscle loss is not simply about aging. It's about input. When your brain no longer receives the correct signals from movement, from food, from your environment, it begins to downregulate anabolic processes. In other words, the body thinks we're not building anymore. But the reality is you can turn that signal back on. The key is to stimulate mTOR, mechanistic target of rapamycin, which is the molecular switch for muscle synthesis. And you know what activates mTOR more effectively than most supplements? Leucine-rich animal proteins, particularly those found in high-quality sources like pasture, raised eggs, wild-caught salmon, and grass-fed beef liver. Yes, that's the food we're talking about, beef liver. This is not your average health food. It's rich in heme iron, vitamin A, B12, zinc, creatine, and most importantly, bioavailable amino acids in the exact ratio your body needs to rebuild muscle. In fact, human trials have shown that leucine, found abundantly in beef liver, increases muscle protein synthesis even in older adults who haven't trained for years. It's not just about nutrition, it's neuromuscular rehabilitation through food. But muscle rebuilding isn't only about eating this food, it's about when and how you eat it. Your body responds to circadian biology, internal clocks that regulate your hormonal environment. Eating your protein-rich meals within a 10-hour feeding window during daylight, especially post-movement, dramatically improves nutrient uptake and anabolic response. Combine this with resistance training, even light strength work, and you can stimulate new muscle growth in as little as 4 weeks. The body is highly responsive if you give it the right signals. Let's also consider the role of your gut microbiome. The bacterial balance in your intestines plays a direct role in how your body digests protein and converts amino acids into usable muscle tissue. Studies now show that fermented foods like kimchi or kefir, when consumed alongside beef liver or salmon, can drastically improve nutrient absorption. Gut inflammation declines, insulin sensitivity improves, and muscle-building pathways get amplified. This isn't just nutrition, it's systems biology in action. Many people ask, can I just take supplements instead? The answer is, not if you want full activation. Most isolated amino acids or synthetic vitamins don't carry the same molecular cofactors that whole foods do. Your brain and your muscle stem cells require natural enzymes and binding proteins to process and deliver nutrients to your muscles. That's why this one food, beef liver, delivers not just the fuel, but the instructions for your cells to rebuild. So how do you create a protocol? Start simple. 2 to 3 times a week, include 3 to 4 ounces of cooked beef liver in your meal, ideally within an hour or 2 after your resistance training. Combine it with fermented foods to support your microbiome. Keep your feeding window within 8 to 10 hours during daylight and allow for consistent, deep sleep at night because most muscle rebuilding happens during stage 3 non-REM sleep. And always pair your eating schedule with some form of movement, even if it's just body weight squats or resistance bands. In just 30 days of this protocol, people have reported not only increased muscle tone and strength, but also better brain clarity, metabolic energy, and improved posture. Why? Because muscle is deeply integrated with your nervous system. The more you train and feed it properly, the more responsive your entire system becomes, from cognition to digestion to immune defense. Sarcopenia isn't something that just happens to the elderly. It's the result of missed signals, biological silence. But today, you have the tools to break that silence. You can reprogram your body, you can regenerate, you can rise. One food, one system, one protocol. The fight against muscle loss begins with one decision, not someday, today. Most people associate aging with inevitable decline, loss of energy, reduced strength, slower movement. But science tells a more specific and alarming story. Around the age of 30, the human body begins to lose muscle mass at a slow but consistent rate, typically around 3–8% per decade. This process accelerates rapidly after the age of 60. What many don't realize is that this isn't just a side effect of age. It's a biological adaptation triggered by inactivity, nutritional deficiency, and disrupted cellular signaling. This is known as sarcopenia. It's not just about less muscle, it's about a loss of physical autonomy, metabolic resilience, and neuroplasticity. The real reason muscle wasting begins at this stage of life is because the brain and body begin receiving fewer stimuli to maintain or build lean tissue. The motor neurons that activate muscles begin to decline in function, and when fewer signals are sent, fewer muscle fibers are recruited, used, and maintained. This sets off a negative feedback loop. The less muscle you use, the more you lose. But there's a hidden layer. Muscle atrophy isn't just a mechanical problem, it's a neurochemical and metabolic one. The anabolic pathways in the body, specifically the mTOR pathway, begin to downregulate in the absence of the right nutritional and behavioral triggers. And one of the key drivers of this process is the reduction in circulating leucine and other branched chain amino acids from diet. Without them, the machinery inside the cell responsible for building new muscle proteins goes dormant. Additionally, hormone levels such as testosterone and growth hormone naturally decline, but when combined with poor sleep and high stress, these hormonal changes accelerate muscle breakdown. Cortisol, the stress hormone, further inhibits muscle repair and encourages catabolism. Meanwhile, mitochondrial efficiency drops, leading to less energy production and less physical activity, again reinforcing the cycle. The muscles, which were once fed by rich nerve input and constant challenge, now atrophy due to disuse, poor signaling, and cellular neglect. But the good news is this: the decline is not only stoppable, it is reversible. The human body, even in its 50s, 60s, and 70s, retains the ability to respond to stimulus. The key is to reintroduce those necessary signals through targeted resistance training, strategic protein intake, particularly high leucine whole foods, and behavioral rhythms that align with the body's internal clocks. Movement tells the motor neurons to fire. Proper food tells the cells to synthesize. Sleep reinforces recovery. Light exposure stabilizes circadian biology. And all of this combines to reignite the complex network of systems that sustain and build muscle. Once these elements are consistently in place, muscle not only stops wasting away, it begins to grow stronger, more efficient, and more metabolically active. Rebuilding muscle isn't just about lifting weights or increasing protein intake. It's about initiating precise biological processes that require the right nutrients, delivered in the right amounts at the right time. The body doesn't build muscle by accident. It follows specific instructions that are encoded in the molecular interactions between nutrients, hormones, and gene expression. When a muscle contracts under resistance, it creates microscopic damage to the muscle fibers. That damage is not the end goal, it's the signal. What comes next depends almost entirely on the availability of nutrients that can support repair, growth, and adaptation. At the center of this process is protein, but not just any protein. The body requires complete proteins that contain all 9 essential amino acids, with particular emphasis on leucine, which plays a critical role in activating the mTOR pathway. mTOR is a molecular switch that tells your muscle cells to start building new protein structures. Without enough leucine and without enough total protein, the signal to rebuild gets lost or ignored. However, nutrition for muscle rebuilding doesn't stop at protein. Carbohydrates, when timed appropriately, replenish glycogen stores and assist in insulin release, which is an anabolic hormone that helps shuttle nutrients into muscle cells. Fats, especially omega-3 fatty acids like EPA and DHA, help reduce post-exercise inflammation and support the integrity of muscle cell membranes, allowing for better communication and repair. Micronutrients also play a pivotal role. Magnesium, zinc, and vitamin D are critical for muscle contraction, testosterone synthesis, and enzyme function involved in tissue growth. Without these, the rebuilding process is inefficient or even halted. The timing of nutrition is also crucial. Post-exercise, muscle cells are more sensitive to nutrient uptake due to increased blood flow and cellular permeability. This anabolic window, though more flexible than previously believed, is still a valuable time to deliver high-quality food that contains both protein and carbohydrates. Moreover, spreading protein intake evenly throughout the day ensures that muscle protein synthesis stays elevated more consistently, as opposed to consuming one large protein dose at night. This steady availability of amino acids sustains the body's repair cycle. Hydration also matters more than people realize. Muscle tissue is over 70% water, and cellular hydration influences not only volume but also enzymatic reactions involved in protein synthesis. Even mild dehydration can impair strength, reduce training performance, and stall recovery. Another layer of complexity lies in gut health. If the digestive system isn't operating efficiently, even the best food choices won't result in adequate nutrient absorption. Chronic inflammation, leaky gut, or an imbalanced microbiome can significantly impair how amino acids and other nutrients are transported into the bloodstream and delivered to muscle cells. For muscle to rebuild efficiently, the entire digestive and hormonal system must be functioning optimally. This is why building muscle through nutrition is a systems-level challenge. It's not isolated to what's on your plate, but also how your body interprets and uses it. Among the countless foods promoted for muscle growth, one stands out not just because of tradition or popularity, but because it has been repeatedly verified in controlled human studies to stimulate muscle protein synthesis, preserve lean mass, and slow or even reverse the effects of sarcopenia. That food is beef liver. It's not flashy, not a supplement, and not widely consumed today, but it is one of the most nutrient-dense sources of complete proteins and essential micronutrients known to science. What makes beef liver so powerful isn't just its high protein content, but the form that protein comes in, packed with all the essential amino acids, particularly leucine, valine, and isoleucine, which directly activate the mTOR signaling pathway. This pathway, central to the body's muscle building system, requires adequate stimulation to stay active, especially as we age and baseline anabolic resistance increases. Without enough leucine-rich input, mTOR remains dormant, and the muscle wasting process accelerates. Beef liver solves this problem almost perfectly. Just 100 grams of cooked liver provides approximately 25-30 grams of highly bioavailable protein with one of the most optimal amino acid profiles found in nature. Beyond protein, beef liver contains extraordinarily high levels of vitamin A in its active forms retinol, which supports immune health and recovery, vitamin B12 for red blood cell production and energy metabolism, and iron in its heme form, which is essential for oxygen delivery to muscle tissues during movement and repair. It also contains zinc, which contributes to testosterone production and protein metabolism, as well as choline, a precursor for acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter responsible for muscle contraction. What's even more compelling is that studies on older adults show that consuming nutrient-rich organ meats like liver can dramatically improve muscle mass retention, even in populations that do not exercise intensively. This is due to the combination of amino acids and micronutrients that support not only muscle fiber repair, but also neuromuscular communication and mitochondrial energy production. In one study involving adults over the age of 60, individuals who consumed animal-based, Nutrient-dense proteins like liver saw a significantly higher rate of muscle preservation over 12 months compared to those who relied on plant-based or incomplete proteins. What this tells us is that it's not just quantity of protein, but quality, bioavailability, and nutrient synergy that determines whether muscle loss accelerates or reverses. Beef liver uniquely delivers on all fronts. It's the rare food that provides both the raw materials and the biological signals your body needs to keep muscle building pathways active. When introduced consistently, 2 to 3 times a week in small amounts, it can serve as a nutritional intervention against muscle loss, especially when combined with movement and adequate sleep. It's not about extremes or bodybuilder diets. It's about giving the body the evolutionary nutrients it recognizes and knows how to use effectively. The timing of protein intake and the body's ability to digest and absorb that protein are two of the most underestimated factors in preventing muscle loss and supporting muscle growth, particularly as we age. While many focus on how much protein to consume, what truly drives muscle protein synthesis is when that protein is delivered and how efficiently it is broken down into amino acids and transported to muscle cells. Human muscle does not store excess protein like it stores fat or carbohydrates. Instead, it relies on regular signals and steady supply to repair, grow, and maintain tissue. This is especially important in the context of sarcopenia, where anabolic resistance, meaning the muscle's reduced ability to respond to protein, makes timing and digestion even more critical. Research shows that spreading protein evenly across meals leads to significantly better muscle protein synthesis than consuming the same total amount in one large dose. A meal skipping pattern, where a person eats very little protein during the day and a large amount at night, fails to activate the muscle building process effectively. Instead, distributing 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein at each meal ensures repeated stimulation of muscle repair pathways throughout the day. Morning protein intake is especially important. Consuming protein within 1 to 2 hours of waking aligns with your body's circadian rhythms and primes your neuromuscular system for the day's movement and metabolic demand. This early intake acts as a biological signal to maintain lean tissue and increase mitochondrial activity. Likewise, consuming a protein-rich meal post-exercise enhances the delivery of amino acids to muscle tissue due to increased insulin sensitivity and blood flow. But timing alone is not enough. The digestion process itself must be efficient. As we age, stomach acid production often decreases, which limits the breakdown of protein into absorbable peptides. If the protein is not properly digested, even the highest quality sources become less effective. Enzymes like pepsin and hydrochloric acid are critical here. Without them, large protein molecules pass through the digestive tract undigested, leading to inflammation or being excreted without benefit. Therefore, chewing food thoroughly, minimizing stress while eating, and avoiding over-processed proteins are important for improving digestion. Whole foods like eggs, fish, and liver provide not just protein, but natural enzymes and cofactors that aid in digestion and absorption. Additionally, pairing protein with a small amount of healthy fat can slow gastric emptying, increasing absorption efficiency. Fermented foods and probiotics can also support gut health, improving the gut lining's ability to transport amino acids into the bloodstream. This entire sequence, from timing to digestion to absorption, creates a chain reaction that controls whether your body holds on to muscle or begins to lose it. It's not just about protein amounts, but the precision of how and when protein is introduced into your system that determines the outcome. Consistency, daily rhythm, and digestive health together form the foundation of successful muscle maintenance. The connection between the gut and muscle is far more powerful than most people realize. It's not just about absorbing nutrients. Your gut literally helps determine how well your muscles grow, repair, and function. This relationship, often referred to as the gut-muscle axis, is an emerging field in neuroscience and physiology that shows how gut health influences muscular strength, endurance, and resistance to wasting. The lining of your gut is the gateway through which all nutrients must pass before they can reach your muscle tissue. If your gut is inflamed, permeable, or dysfunctional, those nutrients never make it to their intended destination. That means your muscle fibers could be starving even if you're eating plenty of food. When the gut microbiome is imbalanced, meaning there are more harmful bacteria than beneficial ones, it leads to systemic inflammation, which directly interferes with muscle protein synthesis and increases the rate of muscle breakdown. This becomes especially dangerous with age, as inflammation already tends to rise naturally. Furthermore, some gut bacteria play a role in producing short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which have been shown to increase muscle mass and strength by reducing inflammation and enhancing mitochondrial function inside muscle cells. In other words, healthy gut bacteria don't just protect you from disease, they actively enhance your muscle metabolism. What you feed those bacteria then becomes incredibly important. Diets rich in processed sugars, seed oils, artificial sweeteners, and low in fiber starve beneficial microbes and allow inflammatory strains to dominate. But when you feed your gut high-quality foods like fermented vegetables, bone broth, prebiotic fibers from root vegetables, and collagen-rich animal parts like skin and cartilage, you cultivate a microbiome that supports lean tissue preservation. Even more fascinating is how certain amino acids needed for muscle building, such as glutamine, arginine, and leucine, are metabolized or influenced by gut bacteria before they reach the bloodstream. If the wrong bacteria dominate your gut, they can interfere with the transport or breakdown of these muscle-building nutrients. That means the gut acts almost like a filter for the muscle, deciding what gets through, how much, and how quickly. This gut-muscle axis also affects neuromuscular performance. Inflammation in the gut can trigger fatigue, reduce motivation, and disrupt the neurotransmitters that regulate movement. Some individuals with poor gut health often experience chronic low energy, which limits their ability to train or stay active, further worsening sarcopenia. On the other hand, individuals who improve their gut function often find their strength and recovery improve, even without major changes in their workouts. Probiotic-rich foods like kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, and plain yogurt can increase microbial diversity and protect the gut lining, while bone broth and gelatin-rich cuts of meat help rebuild that lining and reduce leakiness. A healthy gut ecosystem ensures that the signals from food are not just received by your brain and muscle, but properly interpreted and acted upon. The gut doesn't just influence digestion, it's a command center that shapes how your entire body responds to physical demand. Reversing sarcopenia is not about short-term fixes or extreme interventions. It's about designing and committing to a daily protocol that aligns with your biology. Whether you're 35 or 75, the human body retains the capacity to rebuild muscle tissue if you consistently provide the right mechanical, nutritional, and circadian signals. The first foundational component is movement. Daily resistance-based activity is the non-negotiable stimulus required to activate muscle fibers, increase blood flow, and trigger the molecular cascade that tells your body to maintain and grow lean mass. This does not mean hours in the gym. Even 15-30 minutes of focused, compound movement, squats, push-ups, pulling motions, resistance bands, or light dumbbells can be enough to signal adaptation. The key is consistency. Muscles don't grow from occasional effort, they grow from repeated communication that they are still needed. Once that mechanical signal is in place, the second layer is strategic nutrition. Begin your day with 25-30 grams of complete protein within 60 minutes of waking. This could include eggs, smoked salmon, Greek yogurt, or even a small portion of beef liver. This primes the body's anabolic state and curbs the morning cortisol spike that can contribute to muscle breakdown. Throughout the day, maintain a feeding window of about 8 to 10 hours during which you consume 2 to 3 balanced meals that include quality protein, healthy fats, and a moderate amount of carbohydrates from whole sources like sweet potatoes or legumes. Include at least 1 serving of fermented food daily to support gut integrity and amino acid absorption. Hydration must also be built into the protocol. Aim for at least 2.5 to 3 liters of water per day, ideally with some trace minerals or electrolytes added to ensure muscle cells maintain their volume and function. In the evening, Your focus shifts to recovery. About 1 hour before bed, consume a small amount of slow digesting protein, such as cottage cheese or collagen with bone broth, to provide your muscles with a steady stream of amino acids during the deep sleep window when most tissue repair occurs. Equally important is sleep duration and quality. Target 7 to 9 hours of uninterrupted sleep in a dark, cool, quiet room. This is when growth hormone pulses naturally, facilitating deep cellular repair and muscle regeneration. Exposure to morning sunlight and evening darkness helps anchor your circadian rhythm, ensuring hormone cycles support anabolism. Finally, limit inflammatory triggers. Avoid high sugar foods, industrial seed oils, alcohol, and chronic stress. These factors elevate cortisol, disrupt gut function, and sabotage your muscle building efforts. Instead, build a routine of calm, meditation, breath work, or simple stillness to regulate your nervous system. When practiced daily, this protocol turns your entire lifestyle into a muscular support system. You're not just working out, you're sending a message to your body over and over again that strength is still required, that mobility is still critical, and that aging does not mean decline, it means adaptation. Everything we've discussed, every cell, every movement, every bite of food, points to a singular, empowering truth: sarcopenia is not your destiny. Muscle loss is not a sentence of aging. It's a response to silence, to lack of signal, to biological neglect. But now you know how to reawaken that signal. Through nutrient-dense foods like beef liver, through strategic protein timing, through gut health, movement, light, sleep, and rhythm, you hold the ability to command your body back into strength. You are not too late. You are not too far gone. The nervous system is adaptable. The muscular system is responsive. And the gut-brain-muscle axis is listening, waiting for you to take the first step. You don't need perfection. You need consistency. You don't need extremes. You need alignment. So start today. Add one habit, one meal, one rep, one breath of intention into your daily rhythm. Don't wait for weakness to become permanent, because the strength you rebuild now becomes the independence, power, and vitality you carry forward. Your muscle is not just movement, it's memory, resilience, and future. Reclaim it, build it, protect it, and let your biology work for you, not against you.